For thousands of years, the Nerubians had lived peacefully below Northrend. They had built a huge empire called a Sol Nerub deep below the continent. This underground network stretched nearly half the breadth of Northrend. Rarely, the Nerubians left the underground or came in contact with other races. The name of their king was Anub'Arak, and it should be their last one. As the Lich King's power and his influence over Northrend grew, he started to slaughter the native inhabitants of the land. Afterwards, he raised them again, now forced to carry out his commands. His army, the Scourge, grew with every day, and soon Northrend was under his control. After 10 years, the Lich King's actions finally drew the attention of the Nerubians, probably the only empire in Northrend equal to the Lich King's strength.
Death to the servants of Ner'zhul!
The insectoid race left their underground kingdom and attacked the seat of the Lich King himself, the Ice-Crowned Citadel. Soon, Ner'zhul had to find out, to his disappointment, that the Nerubians were immune to his plague of the undead and to his telepathic powers. The only way to destroy the spiders was by combat.
Kill them all. Mercy is for the weak.
But the spiders avoided open combat. They neutralized many of the Lich King's strongholds with hit-and-run techniques. Despite their success, the Nerubians soon had to realize that the almost limitless numbers of soldiers fighting for the Lich King were impossible to overcome. Soon, the Lich King struck back and attacked a Sol Nerub.
Let the destruction of this place serve as a lesson to all those who would dare oppose the Scourge.
While the Nerubians were immune to the plague itself, the Lich King was still able to raise their fallen soldiers, and so they suddenly found themselves defending their own home against a numberless Scourge, and for every Nerubian soldier who fell, Ner'zhul's army grew stronger. It was during these fights that Anub'Arak died, but he was brought back by the Lich King. After the death of their leader, the Nerubians were on the retreat. They had to dig deeper and deeper under the ground in order to make up for the land lost to the undead. But deep, deep below the continent, the Faceless Ones rested. Minions of the ancient god Yogg-Saron. They attacked the Nerubians with immense ferocity.
Try, fool.
It was impossible for the spider-like beings to fight a war on two fronts. The Nerubians lost the fight and they lost their kingdom, Azul Nerub. The few survivors fled into hiding, now calling themselves Azul Anak. The Lich King raised all the fallen Nerubians to support his ranks. The undead Nerubians were known as Cryptfians, and Anub'Arak became one of the Crypt Lords.
I once ruled Azul Nerub. Then came a war I could not win. I was forced into servitude.
How the Nerubian king died exactly is not known. The Crypt Lords betrayed their race before their kingdom fell. They traded the life of thousands of Nerubians for power and the immortality of undeath. The few Nerubians who survived the Lich King's attacks only referred to their former leader as the Traitor King from then on. Anub'Arak probably had betrayed his own people before he died.
Look, brothers, the Traitor King.
Who, me?
He is referring to me, Death Knight. These Nerubians will stop at nothing to destroy us.
After the war, Anub'Arak led his brothers and sisters in conquering a huge ziggurat for the new master. They altered the newly captured building to suit the needs of the Lich King. The name of the ziggurat was Naxxramas. Little is known about Anub'Arak's doings during the Scourging of Azeroth. Most likely he acted as the Majordomo of Naxxramas, but when Arthas returned to Northrend, the Crypt Lord was sent south to aid him.
Northrend. It feels like a lifetime since I was last here. Something out there is threatening the Lich King. We must reach Icecrown quickly.
My king, we'll need to establish a base here first.
but this island is nearly devoid of resources. What the? They look like high elves. What are they doing here?
Prince Arthas, we are the Blood Elves. We have sworn to avenge the ghost of Quel'Thalas. This dead land will be cleansed.
Northrend belongs to the Scourge, elf. You made a terrible mistake by coming here. Slay them!
Onward for the Scourge. Slay them in Ner'zhul's name.
Who the... Thanks for the assistance, Mighty One.
The Lich King sent me to aid you, Death Knight. I am Anub'Arak, ancient king of Azul Nerub.
I welcome your aid, Anub'Arak, but we have little time for pleasantries. We must reach Icecrown immediately.
The race for the Ice Crown began. Kael'thas, Blood Elves and Illidan's Naga were attacking the seat of the Lich King. It was only a matter of time until they destroyed him. His powers were already fading. Arthas was sure that he would die as well if the Lich King died. He had to help him. The only way for them to reach the Ice Crown in time was to go through the old tunnels of Azul Nerub, the place the Lich King destroyed entirely a few years ago. The next entrance was not far from where they were, but the Blood Elves had a camp in between them. In order to destroy this camp, they slayed the dragon Sephiron and raised him again afterwards.
You dare enter my lair. I am Sephiron, ancient servant of Malygos the Spellweaver. Explain yourselves.
Sorry we don't have time to chat, Great Worm. We've come to murder you and steal whatever artifacts you've hoarded over the centuries.
Together with the mighty undead dragon, they were able to reach Azul Nerub. Arthas felt the Lich King's power fading away. He was worried. Anub'Arak seemed to only fight for the Lich King because he was forced to. He felt that the huge Crypt Lord hated their master. What if the Lich King's powers got so weak that he was no longer able to control Anub'Arak? Would the spider-like being attack Arthas? At first their journey through the depths of Azul Nerub was almost eventless. They had to fight their way through some of the last living Nerubians, and they had to murder a few dwarves, survivors of Muradin's expedition.
I remember you, evil prince. You're the one that killed poor Muradin.
But as they got deeper and deeper, new threats suddenly appeared. The Faceless Ones, who were woken by the Nerubians during the War of the Spider, roamed through the ancient city. They were immense threats by themselves, but they were not alone.
It cannot be. A forgotten one. Look to your defenses, Death Knights. Fight as you've never fought before.
Nobody knows exactly what the horrific creature was Arthas and Anub'Arak had to fight. Maybe it was a high servant of Yogg-Saron. Maybe it was a part of Y'Shaarj, one of the parts which fell back on Azeroth when the Titans ripped him from the surface of the world. Maybe it was even a fifth, secret old god. Nobody knows, but for Arthas and Anub'Arak it didn't matter anyways. They fought an epic fight against the beast, and they won. They were able to kill the mysterious creature. With this threat out of the way, they headed towards the Ice Crown. Anub'Arak magically activated the 4 obelisks surrounding the Lich King's seat, and Arthas climbed the steps towards his destiny. Arthas and the Lich King became one. Ner'zhul was finally freed from his prison and his power greater than ever before. Anub'Arak returned to Azul Nerub, he perverted and twisted his glorious former homeland into a dark and evil place and ruled over an army of undead who, like their leader, had pledged themselves to serve the Lich King. Anub'Arak stayed there for years, but when the Argent Crusade came to Northrend to finally kill the Lich King once and forever, 5 nameless heroes entered Azul Nerub. They entered it to kill Anub'Arak. After a legendary fight, the unknown heroes managed to kill the Crypt Lord. Anub'Arak was finally free. It is not known how the spider-like being entered the Lich King's service in the first place. He probably betrayed his own people. But what we do know is that Anub'Arak didn't want it to stay in the Lich King's service. The nameless heroes freed him. His last words were words of relief.
Never thought I would be free of him.
Killing Anub'Arak was not the only victory in the Argent Crusade's fight against the Lich King. Many small battles were won during these times by countless heroes. The Argent Crusaders realized that the time to attack the Ice-Crown Citadel was soon to come. But who should lead the final assault against the fallen prince? How should they find out which of the countless heroes of these times were the strongest? They needed to somehow find out who really would be able to kill the king of the undead. But how? Luckily, they had an idea.
From east to west, heroes are sent, seeking glory in the greatest of events. There are knights on noble steeds, those who will bring them to their knees. There are monsters to test their mettle at every turn. Legends will rise based on their merits. There's even pirates riding parrots. It's the grand tournament.
They organized a huge tournament to answer the question. The Argent Tournament. It was a huge spectacle. Hundreds of heroes fought against terrifying creatures to find out who of them was capable of slaying Arthas. But when the games were at their height, suddenly the Lich King himself appeared.
You will have your challenge, Fordring.
Arthas! You are hopelessly outnumbered. Lay down Frostmourne and I will grant you a just death.
The Nerubians built an empire beneath the frozen wastes of Northrend. An empire that you so foolishly built your structures upon. My empire. The souls of your fallen champions will be mine. Fordring.
Our guests have arrived, just as the Master promised.
Anub'Arak had been revived once again by the powers of the Lich King. He even enhanced the Crypt Lord with new frozen powers. But this time it was too much for the former ruler of the Nerubians. He had lost his mind. He attacked the heroes like crazy, but somehow they managed to kill him again. This time for eternity. Anub'Arak's story ends here. He ruled the proud kingdom of Azul Nerub. He probably betrayed his own people for a promise of immortality and power. After his death, his consciousness remained, but he was forced to carry out the commands of his master, and he regretted whatever happened before. Trapped in this nightmare, he was finally freed by nameless heroes, only to be trapped again. And the Nerubians? Their race was almost extinguished during the War of the Spider. The few survivors lived a life in hiding. But before the former proud race was defeated, they hid an enormous secret stash of their own eggs in safety, somewhere deep below Azul Nerub. One day, these eggs will hatch and the Nerubians can finally begin to rebuild their empire.